The real reason, my dad's mom, she felt that, okay, the reason is she's a girl, or we
Mm.
can't raise her. And the moment she said that, when I was born, my granddad immediately was like, okay, we will raise her.
Hey Isha, so nice to have you. Our conversations offline have come online, and I don't want to spill all the beans out, but what was childhood like in Saranpur, especially being a girl child?
Growing up with your grandparents, your mother's grandparents, not living with your parents, and just seeing how a very different childhood could be, because that was very different from what my peer group or my schoolmates were really doing at that time. And there was a silent undertone of, me being a girl child, and the differences between my paternal side of the family and maternal side of the family. So it just brings in like a lot of emotion, that city, to me as we speak, which just tells me, as I said, hustle and something different that moved me in my early years.
Right. Tell me, when you were young, did
Yeah.
you ever bitch that said, why am I being treated differently? Why is my peer group growing up with their parents and why am
Yeah.
I not growing with their parents?
Yes, I think there were a lot of questions. It was very easy till I was like, I think about 4 years old. It just completely changed when I had my brother.
Yeah.
As siblings, we always used to question that why is my brother living in my parents' house and I am living in a very special setup. So a lot of questions used to come, but I think when you're young, you don't really think too much about it. It's only when you go to school and when you see a very different social setup around your friends, then that's when you start questioning things. Otherwise, for me, it was very easy. My nana nani were my mom, dad, and my mom used to like visit me every day. She used to work. She was like forever like a working mom, and she always used to like visit me after her school hours. And my dad used to make it a point that he is always like checking in on me, and he's coming for my PTMs, etc., and doing those duties. So it used to definitely ring that bell in my head, but it was only as I was growing up in my perhaps like a fifth standard, sixth standard kind of a thing, when I understood why it was different. I understood what led to all of this and what thinking my paternal side of the family had, and all that just was like unraveling like slowly for me.
Right. So tell me, what was the real reason? Why were you kept away? And a lot of it is being spoken about today is about the trauma that a child goes through or the
Exactly.
conditioning that a child goes through. It becomes such a strong muscle memory that
Yes.
everything that we
Yeah.
do kind of comes from that muscle memory, right? So,
Yes.
what was that story and how has it shaped you as a person you are today?
I think that the real reason, it was just a simple reason where my dad's mom, for example, she felt that, okay, the reason is she's a girl, or we
Mm.
can't raise her. And the moment she said that, when I was born, my granddad immediately was like, okay, we will raise her.
Yeah.
And this is of course what is told to me. I don't have any memory of all of this. But then as I was growing up, I never challenged too much that why is this happening to me? Because as much as there was a rejection on one side, there was a lot of positivity on the other side.
Right.
I had a very very good support system at my nanu's place, where I was being raised with a very I would say very comfortable living and very good values. The only thing that was just being told to me is that you're special. So I was always told that you're special. I never used to understand what is a special thing attached to me. So it was like, you are special. You have to do like made to do like good things. And I had my Masi and Mamu and all, like who were like, the age gaps were very less. So they were almost like my brother and sisters. So in a way, I had a pseudo family. I had a mom, dad, I had like a brother sister set up who were like giving me that power to like move ahead, and like at school, at academics, that was like ingrained in me that you have to be just but good because you are special. And somewhere I used to also feel that energy around me. Like when now I process, I feel that there was a very different energy for me as a child, because the only thing I was focused at was just doing good, just being that perfect kid. And I don't know if that was a result of this muscle memory that was being created, because I think that somehow when it's ingrained in you that you are different or you're special, you try to, for a sense of self validation perhaps, you try to do everything apt, because I somewhere knew that there is this one gap in my life. I was trying to hustle through and like do everything perfect, like a perfect student. We were discussing that day, like
Yeah.
like a perfect scorer, like a person who's like scoring good and is coming like first always in school. And that is something that really shaped a lot of ethos for me in life, I think.
Yeah.
Because being focused and not looking at something that you don't have as a normal kid, but rather looking at something that is being given by the universe,
Yeah.
always made me look at the other side. And that is something that I always like very hold strong when I work or in situations, that at a lot of places where I'm not getting the usual, or I'm being faced with a lot of hurdles, like in a project and like work, even in life with like my friends and family, I try to look at the brighter side. And I think that was a muscle memory that got created very early on.
Right. And and tell me, did you, when you got to know
Yeah.
that, when you are sensible enough that you got to know that this is my truth, did it break you? Did it shatter you?
Of course it did, because I still remember I was a typical Dear Diary bacha who
Yeah.
used to write, like this journaling came in like very early for me. I used to write like every day. And I remember scribbling my heart out when I used to, ponder over what would have. I always used to question, why did my, for example, why didn't dad do something about it, right? You would question that why didn't the parents do anything about it? But after a point in time, when I was still seeing a lot of love in whatever manner they could, whatever their reasons were, I didn't like think too much about that. I just used to look at, okay, whatever has happened, I still have like a lot. It was tough for my brother to understand all of this.
Yeah.
That was another part of the story, because
Yeah,
I think,
which is
yeah,
interesting. How did he experience the privileges? Did he think he was privileged, and did he think you were privileged? Like
he
what is
thinks
that?
I was privileged. I think that's such a such a nice question. If he would have been hearing this, he would like laugh. He forever thinks I'm the privileged bacha, because I think what he thought was that he had only mom and dad, and I had like so many people.
Right.
And I think that when you tend to be different, you become an instant apple of the eye.
Yeah.
Like everyone would like try to be like very good to you, and I could see that like my extended side of the family, they were extra good to me as compared to my brother. So I always like feel that it was very challenging for him, and I'm sure it led to his share of traumas as well for him, that
Yeah.
why can't I be with my sister, and we had like a very good bond.
Yeah.
And then we used to our like vacations used to be like planning, how many days are you going to live with me, how many days am I going to like. So it was very I would say that it was our normal, but when I think about it, it's not at all normal.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Yeah.
tell me, in spite of the situation, you
Yeah.
you had a great equation with your brother, which I find very strange,
Yes.
because otherwise there's always this venom against the person who's more privileged, right?
Yes.
Or who gets, and especially here you're not talking about a pay package or a better gift or something.
Yes.
You're
It's love.
talking about the attention
Yeah.
and love of your parents, right?
Exactly.
Which is so fundamental. How did
Yeah.
you not end up disliking him or developing the sense of jealousy towards him?
I think yeah, this is so tough. But I think I never had like jealousy for him. It never came to me like naturally. Like most of these negative feelings never used to like come to me. Maybe it was because of the surroundings and the way everyone was steering the narrative to me.
Yeah.
Uh, and then our bond was very good. Like when we were kids, we of course had our differences as we were growing up, and it was not so rosy. We used to have like fights on everything, and a very different opinion, because like I was like, as I said, like this praised kid at home who's like killing it at academics, and there is this prodigy. My brother is like a super prodigy, and though he wasn't like me at academics, he was very good at like other things. But then there's always like this comparison,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
that happens between like siblings.
Yeah.
And I often compare his relationship and mine to that Beers and the Alia Bhatt situation. That we were like those siblings who were always like pegged against each other. So it never led to jealousy, but I think it definitely led to a huge amount of competitiveness between both of us, because our social setup and everything that we had was very different, and we never knew why. We were
Yeah.
never able to decode why. But there were incidents that happened like later on in our life, I would say in our 20s, for both my brother and me, that really brought us so together that after that there was nothing. Like everything that was like negative between us, that just like flew.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So I think as we grow, our life became more dramatic,
Yeah.
so to say, like dramatic for the outsider, very painful for us. But then I think the as life evolved, we became very closer.
Yeah. Um, if I may ask, what was that bit that conspired when you guys were in your 20s,
Yeah,
and what really made you mother your brother in many
yeah,
ways, and how did you just deal with it?
yeah. I think that by the time we were okay with our realities, and then like life always has a plan.
Yeah.
And I think by I like while I was in my 20s, I had left Saharanpur for my graduation and post grad, very comfortable with the realities, and we all were used to it.
Yeah.
And I think that if I go back, I think 2011 was a very pivotal year for both of us. And pivotal means that life just like pivoted. We lost our mom, which was very accidental. Her passing is something that really just, when a beautiful picture is like going on,
Yeah.
as bright as this blazer, and then suddenly it just halts. And I still remember I was in my post grad MBA final semesters, and I get this call, and I was not able to believe it. And I think that incident, and my brother was in his engineering at that time, so he was in his college, I was in my college. We were called at Saharanpur, and we just couldn't believe it because she was 45. She was like one person who like connected both of us, and irrespective of our differences and setup, she was like a very strong person who was keeping it all together. I think like mothers do this, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they just keep it all together. They just keep this very nice narrative to the kids also about realities of life. And I think that incident just made us question a lot of things, and the differences just like went, like anything that was between us, like remotely, we didn't speak to each other for like a good time, like for a week we were in shock. But then when we finally did, we decided that okay, you know what, this life is something that we want to live together. There were no dialogues, there were no commitments, but I think we just knew that okay, you know what, if there is something that is there for him and something that is there for me, is him and I.
Yeah.
And then I think while it was just going all well, I think in 2014, just 3 years after, our dad passed away. And that was a tragic train accident that happened. And I think that if that was something, which is our mom passing, with dad leaving, I think we were just like, I can't express that feeling, to be honest. It's not an emotion. I don't think so. I'll ever feel that. But we felt like something was off from our heads.
Yeah.
Though we had so many people around us, but then just facing the fact that now dad, who was the only binding factor after our mom, is also gone. I think that really brought our. I always wonder how grief got us together, but I always feel that grief also did a very. It had a purpose in our life. For both my brother and I, grief gave us a lot of perspective, and that made us very humble and just like knitted to both of us. And that led me to parenting him. Coming back to your question,
Yeah.
that was where my pseudo parenting journey began.
Right.
Uh, and I was like 26. He had just like graduated, and he was figuring it out. He was processing it all. Because for him, with me not staying with him, then mom passing away, then dad passing away, that was like a lot that life was giving to him
Yeah.
at that age.
Yeah.
And but then I think it has been magical. Parenting him has been magical. I don't think now I parent him, but at that age I felt like this
Maternal
ardent
instinct.
responsibility,
Yeah.
maternal instincts, whatever we call it, that came on heavy on me.
With so much happening, does it become difficult when you are a grown up to sort of have, in a lot of things that you're doing, does it become difficult to process that emotion, take different actions, or think differently because there is a conditioning when you're doing it? Does it become difficult to trust relationships? Does it become too difficult to get attached when you've dealt with so much in the past?
I think, yes, so many things can happen, but I think it differs in terms of how your treatment to the thing is. But I think the instant reaction from the body is defense mechanism and your mind also.
Yeah.
Like in my case, I think I just became a challenger.
Hmm.
My immediate reaction was, so what? I'll go through it.
Yeah.
Okay, like you start challenging the universe. Okay, bring it on. What's next? And I think that impacts you because what's happening is you're not giving yourself time to process grief.
Yeah.
You are not giving yourself time to process things, but instantly the reaction for both me and my brother in a way was, let's move on.
Yeah.
It's only when we were moving on and when our actions were very different, the way our mind was processing this was very different. Your important milestones in your life, like say your parents' birthdays and like your birthdays, it's only like when those things start coming up, it hits you. Or say, for example, the first salary that you will get, you'll be like, oh my god, who do I like tell this? So it's only when you move on, it's life that keeps on telling you and keeps on reminding you that there is a vacuum. But then a change has happened in your mind because your mind is continuously telling that, okay, you know what, you are like too good for this. And I think that in certain cases, it could also be very different. It could be very negative as well. Like I know that for my brother, it was very hard. It was very opposite, a little bit more negative. Like you definitely have trust issues. I have seen that trust issues get impacted. Like you are not able to trust in relationships or like you start thinking, how can it be so bad to me?
Yeah.
And then in a way, either you could either challenge that, okay, bring it on, or you could be like, listen, I don't care. I don't care about the world. I don't care about the relationships. And I've seen, I think, both the sides for both of us.
Right. You want to be a parent, or you're at that cusp of deciding whether you want to be a parent or not be a parent. But if Isha was a parent, what would you definitely not do?
What I definitely would not do.
Yeah.
That's a tough question. What I would not do is, I think something that I learned which worked for me was like the way I was raised, it was not put in a box. I think something that I don't want to do is also put a stereotypical parenting in the box. I don't want to go by rules. I would just keep it very organic. I'm not there yet. So the only thing I know is that it's not necessary to have a conventional parenting written by the books. Parenting can have different meanings. Parenting could also be very choice-based. Parenting could also be very adult relationship-based, like something at least that I've seen with my brother. And so something that I won't do is be a typical parent by the book.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is so interesting. I love the way you said it. I mean, I think your Nanaji was kind of a great, great foresight to raise somebody back in times with so much clarity, right?
Yes.
Let's do a fun rapid fire.
Okay.
Let's see that. One regret that you have that you want to teach your kids early on, if and when you have them.
Travel early. Start traveling early.
Okay. One word that never existed in your dictionary.
No.
One word you want to add to the dictionary. Or like maybe underline or emphasize.
Slow.
Okay. One memory you would never forget that has made you this strong.
One memory that I would never forget that has made me strong.
Yeah.
I think the day when we went for my mother's final rituals, and when my granddad, my Nanaji, said that, be very kind to the world, and it doesn't matter how many years you live, it just matters how you live it. And this is something that's happening to you all now, but it's going to happen to everybody because death is reality of life. I think that moment and those lines, they never go from my mind.
Wow. Incredible, dude. Incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. I'm sure this has been extremely tough for you as well.
Yeah, it was different.
Yeah. And I'm sure it's very, very different from all the superpower discussions that you keep having. But I'm so glad this story will help so many people kind of overcome that inbuilt inbuilt conditioning, trauma, reality, whatever you may call it, or whatever form it exists within them. So thanks so much for sharing this, Isha.
Thank you so much, Mansi. I think we just build this aura around like people that they can be their vulnerable best. So it was not at all tough. It was very comfortable.
Thank you. Thank you.